Hello everybody, my name is Paul, and don't let this wooden house misguide you. I'm not in the Philippines, but reporting about the Philippines from my home base in Belgium. My father built this modest wooden bungalow as a weekend retreat well over 50 years ago in a rural area of Belgium called the Kempen. And I thought it would make a nice background for today's episode of the Expat Files. The three best known symbols of the Philippines are the jeepney, the carabao, and the nipahat, which is a native house built with indigenous materials, which comes in different shapes and forms and is locally known as the Bahay Kubo. This form of housing is mostly associated with poor Filipinos, and one wouldn't expect foreigners wanting to live in them. After all, most Westerners have grown up in houses made of bricks with indoor plumbing and fitted kitchens and bathrooms. Hence, the level of comfort in the classic Bahay Kubo might not meet their standards. Or are they inclined to sacrifice some comfort for a back-to-nature style of living? I asked them, and they shared their points in this video. Their comments may actually surprise you, so hang in there for the 6th episode of the Expat Files. We will start with those who would never live in a Bahay Kubo, move on to those who might consider it, and end with the ones who don't have any problems living in such a native house. The first comment was, nipa shacks are only good for weekend fishing and for storing things that aren't of any real value. They leak, attract all sorts of insects, the lizards crawl and shit all over everything, and there is just no way to keep the mice and rats from moving in. As another expat put it, there is no comfort in a native house. Once your level of curiosity fades, you will most definitely understand how the natives feel about the native house. They also hate it, but they have no choice. We do. That is confirmed by a foreigner who says, I have the money to live comfortably. If I was suddenly broke and had no choice, of course I would. I have lived in terrible situations throughout my life, and that is part of the reason why I don't like camping any longer and not being able to shower. A retired US military said that he slept enough in army tents and now prefers luxury and quality for his older age. Another expat points out that he would want a good quality concrete floor and well-sealed covered block walls and solid sealed doors and quality windows with screens. Someone who has been living in such a house for 8 years testifies that the bamboo is now rotten because they have no idea how to treat it. Ants love to live in the roof and drop on you all the time. He says the place is a lot cooler to live in, but it is not the type of house where you would want to put a nice television or other expensive things, as they are too easy to break into. After it happened once, I now protect the place with barbed wire hooked up to an electric fence energizer, which I brought from Australia. I replaced part of the roof last year, but now I've had it, and I will build a new place. I would never want a native house as a permanent dwelling, someone says. It is cheap and cool, but has very high maintenance. Another one adds that he wants a house that he can close up when it gets too noisy outside, where he can keep the bugs and critters out, and where he can use the air conditioner. And it's not just insects and rodents that people in nipa huts have to deal with. Philippine cobras love to nest in the nipa roofing, someone says. And the next one speaks from experience when he says, long term one needs concrete. Nipa may be romantic, but has too many drawbacks. Someone who inherited a nipa hut says, it's a money pit. Pretty to look at, but this home's upkeep is never ending with termites, roofs and gutters leaking, and more of that. Another one immediately confirms that they are money pits. I had to buy my house, he said, but it had no gutters until I started installing them, along with drainage of the property. My kitchen has lasted less than 3 years, and shortly I will have to have it rebuilt and termite proofed. But these are things that I expected and budgeted for. A conversation developed between some expats about mosquitoes, which are absolutely an issue in native houses. It seems the Filipino trick is to hang half of an unpeeled onion near the light bulb and another one near your bed. Lemon and mint would also help, and I've been told that planting lemongrass around your Kubo helps to keep the insects out. Someone said that they have a house that is close to being a native house, but it's not a Kubo. After he arrived there, they extended the small place a bit, all with native stuff. Now they have to deal with geckos, lizards, rats, and sometimes snakes. Geckos and lizards are useful because they eat the insects, but the biggest problem are rats and termites. They ruin your house. Fighting them with anti-termite stuff gives a bad smell and also kills the geckos and lizards. The good thing is that they make the rats go for a while. Some more moderate, but still skeptical views came from people who would consider it, but are not really enthusiastic about it. Someone says, I wouldn't be crazy about it, but if you love a very basic life with pumping groundwater, cooking on wood fire pits, and living among the many insects and other creatures of nature, that would be fine. Some folks, the outdoor people, are attuned to that and craving for a big change from living a strict life in their home country to a more relaxed and free lifestyle, like the early explorers. I understand where this man is coming from, and indeed, the very basic nipa huts would offer that kind of accommodation. But if you look at the modern Bahay Kubo, you will see that they have indoor plumbing with fitted kitchens and bathrooms, and even aircon. Some of them are very nice, but I share his concern about insects and rodents. Another expat testifies that they had an authentic Bahay Kubo for guests, made of bamboo, sawali, and with a nipa roof. He states they are nice when they are new, but not practicable. After only 1 year, the roof starts letting rain through, and there are plenty of mosquitoes and other insects. I now built a European-style Bahay Kubo, which is much cleaner, and you can really stay in it for a holiday, even when the weather is not good. Another expat stayed in one for 9 months and got pooped on by those big lizards that coo loud at night. He says, "When I live there long term, I don't mind a native hut, but it will be seriously updated to being more similar to a log cabin style in the US." Some other guy said that a few years ago he had a plan to build a native house with a masonry core for the bedroom and CR for safety, comfort and security. I completely dig what he's saying, and it should have a concrete roof as well to protect you in case of typhoons. Building the rest of the house in native style will cut your costs, provide you with that picturesque native look, and let you blend in with the locals. Another expat says that he would actually live in such a house, but his wife sees it as demeaning and insists on building with hollow blocks. Nipa huts are much cooler, but the social stigma is a problem. Someone else says that he has never lived in a Nipa hut, although he has stayed in them a few nights, but only in favorable weather. He found them cooler as the construction allows any breeze to get through. The thatched roof keeps heat down and doesn't hold the heat like other houses. As far as typhoons are concerned, the light construction materials are not as dangerous if they collapse. They are more flexible and may withstand strong winds, allowing the wind to pass through. Solid walls act as a barrier and may collapse. A disadvantage is that they can easily catch fire, which will destroy them completely in no time, and you have to get out without the chance of saving any of your belongings. But most people who live in them don't have much anyhow, and they are cheap, quick and easy to rebuild. However, he thinks that for expats, a solidly constructed home is a better choice and more what they are used to. Before we move on to the expats who have positive stories about Bahay Kubo, and there are actually more than you would anticipate, I want to thank all the expats who participated in the making of this episode. I also want to thank everyone who viewed this video, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up, put a comment in the comment section, and please don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. Now let's hear what people have to say who actually like living in a Bahay Kubo. One man says, "We rent a bamboo house, lifted from the ground, wooden floor, iron roof, bathroom and kitchen are in stone. We pay 5,000 pesos per month, which equals about $100. It is located at 50 meters from the seaside, and I love it. It's simple, but you can make it with all the comfort you need. It's stronger than you think, but with the iron roof, you really need to isolate. Apart from that, I see no downsides." And here's another opinion. "I don't see why I shouldn't live in a native house. The full bamboo house is basically good for 5 to 10 years if you are lucky with the workmanship. But it is cheap to replace. There is now a new generation of Bahay Kubo which will cost double the price but is much more durable. So yes, I will live in a native house. Indeed, these new Bahay Kubos are much stronger, nicer and more luxurious than the old ones. But I still think it is smart to have at least one cement room downstairs, so you have your bunker where you can be safe during a typhoon. Someone says he has spent a lot of money to stay at a Western Nipa resort on Sikihor to make his Nipa dream come true. But it had a hollow block CR. I had a similar comment from someone who said, I stayed at a hotel with native Nipa rooms and it was super comfy. Done well, they are quite comfortable to the point of being luxurious. I absolutely love walking on a well put together bamboo floor as well. Another one says that as a poor Westerner, he looks at all options and he actually thinks it's a great idea. He says he's sure it can be modified to meet the needs of what he calls soft foreigners. Yet another expat lived in his Bahay Kubo for nearly 5 years while building his other house, and he loved it. Someone sent me a message saying, "G'day mate," must be from Skippy's country. I built a couple of houses in the Philippines and after a fair bit of study, I went for the composite approach. For example, the Nipa style looks great, but you would get borers and stuff. The Nipa roof looks great, but you have to cover it with a bird net to stop birds from taking it away and replace it on a regular basis, especially after typhoons. But for staying cool, you can't beat the timber frame. Someone who's currently building one confirms this and says, I opted for sheet metal roofing and Hardiflex double walls, simply for the durability. It's still the traditional Kubo style. High ceilings and big windows certainly keep it cooler. But it's in the mountains, so potable water is an issue. I'm installing a rainwater catch system with a 600-gallon reservoir and pressure switch controlled pump system set to 60 psi at the tap. One more Kubo enthusiast says he's planning a Queenlander style native house on stilts with posts made of concrete and steel, parking, laundry and storage underneath, an iron roof for water catchment, a veranda all the way around and lots of louver windows for controlled airflow and natural light, and standard windows for views. He would put fly wires on everything. I think that's a marvelous idea, and I can already imagine how beautiful that house must be. I would be careful putting too many windows though. During a typhoon, they will allow the wind to come inside your house, throw all your belongings around and lift up the roof. I've experienced that during Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, and that wasn't a Bahay Kubo. That was a very strong cement house. Someone living in Tabaco, Albay, had Typhoon Rolly going straight over them. While one of their bamboo huts that didn't have a concrete base was blown over and smashed, their main bamboo house survived with no damage. Neighbors' hollow block houses were demolished, but they were fine in their bamboo house, which is double-walled with bamboo on either side of a cocoa lumber frame. It's very strong and air-conditioned too, and he loves it. A man who lives full-time in a Nipa roof 100 square meter house with his wife's family confirms that these native houses can be amazingly sturdy structures if built right, even if they are very basic in materials. During heavy winds, the bamboo, a Nipa roof, breathes with each gust of wind. In 7 years' time, he had to replace the roof twice. But that is not expensive. We're building one now that's cement on the bottom, bamboo for all the sides, with a metal roof, someone else says. We're also using flatboard on the interior walls, so we can run aircon. I'll have to let you know how it holds up, but after seeing what last year's earthquake did to the cement structures, I thought it was a safer bet. Another expat says that he just bought a large piece of property with a bamboo house already built on it. This is his video you are seeing that he made of the property. He decided that as it has a cement foundation and the lower 1 meter of wall is made of cement blocks as well, he will give it a shot. But then he will put a new roof on it and use lots of bug netting surfaces the entire inside to keep critters out. We have come to the end of this episode of the Expat Files, and I must say I am rather surprised that a fair number of foreigners live in a Bahay Kubo or wouldn't mind living in one. I've never tried, but I always found them quite picturesque. If you were still in doubt, I think our participating expats have supplied you once more with valuable information. And now it is up to you to weigh the pros against the cons. Keep an eye out for the next episode, which will deal with a totally different but very important issue if you want to live peacefully with your Filipina wife or girlfriend. See you then.